전 골드만삭스 헤지펀드 매니저이자 거시경제 전략가 라울팔입니다. 그는 최근 잭 닐과의 인터뷰에서 지금 우리가 역사상 가장 큰 부의 이동 한가운데 있다고 말합니다. 정부는 빚에 갇혀 돈을 계속 찍어낼 수밖에 없고 그 유동성은 결국 기술과 크립토 시장으로 쏠릴 수밖에 없다는 것이죠. 그는 이건 단순한 투자 사이클이 아니라 기존 금융 시스템이 무너지고 디지털 자산이 새로운 기반이 되는 전환점이라며 지금이 바로 그 흐름에 올라탈 마지막 기회라고 강조합니다. 정확히 어떤 내용인지 인터뷰 내용 지금부터 같이 보시죠.
But you said that the real danger is that everything goes to zero. What do you mean by this?
Okay, that's a big question. So everything going to zero, there's two forces that really I'm focused on. One is, you alluded to earlier, and we can go into it in more detail in a bit, which is the fact that the system of money that we know is being debased, which means they're printing money. And why are they doing that? They're doing that to pay the debts that we've accumulated over the years as nations, not only the United States, but all over the world. And that's driven by this aging population that's been happening. So money essentially keeps falling in value, and people realize that by the fact that their wages actually don't go up, but the cost of things goes up. And I'm not talking about food and stuff. That kind of inflation is more cyclical. What I'm talking about is the important things for young people is like, can I buy a house? So young people start thinking, why can't I buy a house? Why do houses still go up and I'm working really hard and I'm working 2 or 3 different jobs? That's because optically they're devaluing the value of the currency, and it makes these assets expensive, but their wages don't go up in the same way. So that's one thing. The value of the currency goes to zero over time. So it's not an instant collapse. It's a slow thing that just makes life harder for everybody. The second thing is that most economic value is based on 2 things, either knowledge or labor. You either physically do things or you mentally do things. The value of those 2 things over time is going to zero because of the rise of AI.
라울팔은 이렇게 말합니다. 현금을 쥐고 있으면 시간과 함께 가난해진다. 돈의 가치가 계속 떨어지는 시대의 선택지는 2 가지뿐입니다. 하나는 구매력을 지키는 자산, 다른 하나는 유동성과 인플레이션의 수혜를 받는 자산입니다. 그는 자본이 다음에 흘러갈 곳이 바로 디지털 자산이라고 확신합니다. 왜냐하면 암호화폐는 유동성으로 피해를 입지 않고 오히려 그 속에서 성장하도록 설계된 시스템이기 때문입니다. 결국 가치는 언제나 빠르고 효율적인 시스템으로 이동합니다. 금, 종이화폐, 디지털 뱅킹, 그리고 지금은 암호화폐. 암호화폐는 단순한 자산이 아니라 실시간으로 구축되고 있는 새로운 금융 인프라입니다. 스테이블코인, 토크나 스마트 컨트랙트는 은행, 중개인, 변호사가 하던 일을 기술이 대신 수행하고 있습니다. 이 새로운 시스템은 더 빠르고 더 싸고 모두에게 열려 있습니다. 즉 이제 금융의 중심은 기관이 아니라 기술입니다.
How are they going to pay that without debasing more currency? Okay, that's pretty fucked. So then you've got to think about, okay, if these kind of forces are at play, then what also happens when you put superintelligence into things like financial markets? Am I going to be a better investor than something with an IQ of 600? No. Can I operate faster? No. So what is a financial market at that point? How does the economic system work? The AI has a system of money. They're already trying to put AI and crypto together because an AI still needs to be paid for it as an AI agent. Like, agents are really like Fiverr, a website where you can choose somebody to do a specialized task. So an agent still needs to get paid like somebody on Fiverr does because they've got, rent and they need to eat food and live their lives. But the AI needs, go back to the same thing, compute and energy. So it's going to get paid. And some of them will generally operate at a profit, so they'll bear profit margin. But their agents are dealing with agents. They're subcontracting out work to each other. And so there'll be a system of money between them, which will likely via crypto rails is the only way of paying each other fast enough. So they're getting the economic pie. How does that work? If the agents are making the pie, people have been talking about the fact that single people can build billion-dollar businesses using AI. One person. So the whole economic system gets weird. It gets weird that it starts growing at an accelerated rate. The value doesn't accrue to us. Our savings have been debased, so they're basically worthless. And so the uncertainty becomes massive.
라울팔은 그게 마치 공상과학 같다고 느껴질 수 있지만 이미 현실에서 벌어지고 있다고 이야기합니다. AI 시스템들이 서로에게 암호화폐로 결제하기 시작했고 탈중앙화 네트워크는 빛의 속도로 가치를 주고받고 있습니다. 그래서 그는 암호화폐는 차세대 경제 기반이라고 부릅니다. 이건 투기가 아니라 소프트웨어가 돈과 직접 상호작용할 수 있게 하는 혁명입니다. 과거 인터넷이 정보를 연결했다면 지금 암호화폐는 가치를 연결하고 이것이 바로 앞으로 디지털 경제가 작동하는 방식이 될 것입니다. 라울팔은 경제학자입니다. 그의 메시지는 한결같습니다. 시장을 움직이는 것은 감정이 아니라 정책이다. 2008년 이후 중앙은행들은 위기가 올 때마다 금리를 내리고 돈을 찍어냈습니다. 매번 임시 조치라 했지만 사실상 한 번도 멈춘 적이 없습니다. 부채가 늘어날수록 시스템은 유동성에 중독되고 돈 찍기를 멈추는 순간 부동산과 주식이 모두 붕괴할 것이기 때문입니다. 결국 돈을 찍어내는 행위는 이름만 바뀐 채 계속 반복된다. 이것이 라울팔이 말하는 현대 금융 시스템의 현실입니다.
What did they do in 2008? They did something really clever. Or 2008 and 2009. They said, we're going to print money. Quantitative easing, they called it. It's a fancy name for printing money. Pretend it's really scientific. It wasn't. We're printing money. What did that do? At the time, the collateral layer of the entire financial system was the housing market, and that had collapsed. And then that was pulling down everything with it. And everyone was defaulting on their debt. And nobody could pay back anybody. The whole system was in the middle of implosion. So what you do is remember, you lower the denominator and magically the value of those assets goes up. Suddenly everyone can service their debt. It stopped the system imploding.
Lower the denominator of what exactly?
Fiat currency, the overall system of money, because it was done by the US, the UK, the EU, China, Japan, Australia, Canada, everybody printed money. And what it did was lower the purchasing power of fiat currency overall, where the dollar is the world's reserve system, and those assets suddenly went up. And everyone's like, we're saved. Nothing had really changed. It was all smoke and mirrors. The system was broken, and they knew it, and everybody knew it. No, not everybody knew it, but people suspected it. So after they did that, they did a piece of magic, which was zero interest rates. We need to stimulate demand. Yes, sure. You lower interest rates, people are freed up to spend more money on stuff. But it was more magic than that. That was the smoke and mirrors again. What it was the ability of all the governments to not have to pay interest rates because they've just got all of this debt issue. So they're like, we're going to give everybody a break for 5-7 years. You don't need to pay interest rates. We're just going to keep our interest rates at zero and let all the corporate sector sort itself out. Let everybody sort themselves out by not having interest rates. I mean, how nice would it be for all of us to not have to pay interest on your car or your mortgage or your credit card for 7 years? Be very nice. That's what we did. It was basically a tax break for every government in the world.
라울팔이 말한 핵심은 단순합니다. 정부는 이제 유동성을 회수할 여력이 없다. 경기가 나빠질 때마다 정부는 더 많은 돈을 찍고 더 많은 신용을 공급하며 더 깊게 개입합니다. 이 끝없는 완화의 순환은 결국 유동성에 의존해 성장하는 자산으로 자금을 몰아넣습니다. 기술주, 부동산, 그리고 점점 더 커지는 암호화폐 시장이 바로 그것입니다. 그래서 암호화폐 시장은 매번 폭락 후에도 가장 빠르게 회복합니다. 그 이유는 간단합니다. 암호화폐는 끊임없이 돈이 찍혀 나오는 세상의 최적화된 자산 구조이기 때문입니다. 대부분의 투자자들은 여전히 자산을 이익이나 현금 흐름으로 평가하지만 디지털 시대의 진짜 가치는 네트워크에서 만들어집니다. 페이스북, 구글, 아마존이 거대해진 이유는 초기에 막대한 이익을 냈기 때문이 아니라 수십억 명의 사용자가 하나의 네트워크로 연결되었었기 때문입니다. 암호화폐도 같은 원리로 작용하지만 한 단계 더 진화했습니다. 이 세계에서 사용자는 토큰을 통해 네트워크의 일부를 직접 소유합니다. 이 구조는 참여자가 곧 가치가 되는 피드백 루프를 만들고 결국 기업 중개자 없이 존재하는 디지털 지분이 됩니다.
Networks are always more valuable than anything that has just cash flow alone. And people are starting to figure it out but don't really understand it yet. Is why Google and Facebook hyperscaled is they were networks, as was Amazon. a network of buyers and sellers and tons of applications and all the value accrued to Amazon. Everything Elon is doing is actually a network, but it's all still separate and people can't see it, which is why the stock always trades expensive. And people are like, I don't understand it. It's because it's a network and you don't see it yet. This is what NFTs are rightly. They're network effect pieces of art or a community. A networked community is what you're building. That's what all of crypto is networks, and networks accrue enormous value. And that's why some of this digital art is accruing enormous value and people don't understand it because of the value of the network. So there's a really interesting piece in the higher end of art of Xcopy, this British anonymous artist, called The Last Selfie, of which I own one of. The Last Selfie, there's actually 10 and they're all the same. I was like, yeah, whatever. But it's become legendary. And everybody wants one of those 10. And he's got another piece called Mortal, which is the same, one of 10, and it's another legendary piece. Now, if it was a one of one, so there was only one in existence, and let's say I own it, and you come to me and say, I want to buy your piece, I say no. And you say, try and raise price. I'm like, I'm not selling, it's not to do with the price, I love it. End of story. What is Ethereum? Ethereum is basically a gigantic scale network that records contracts. Oh, so it can apply to everything. Yes. And what drives a lot of the adoption of any of these things? Memetics. So think of it as a memetic contract new world, which is a replication of what we built as humans. It's all the printing press was, all of this stuff. In fact, it's all AI is. It's all the same thing.
Does Solana do contracts?
Yes.
But
So-
Ethereum's the first.
I'll come on to that.
Right.
So Ethereum was the first. Great. It's the OG. It's slower. It's a bit complicated, blah, blah, blah. So there's other fast ones. There's Sui and there's Solana and then the Sui and okay, great. But the financial system will likely bless Ethereum. Why? Because it's been around longer. It's gone through the ups and downs. It's been battle tested. And so the probability of you being at JP Morgan saying, we're going to build on Ethereum, the probability of you being fired for that decision is low. You can obviously be fired for a number of other reasons, but making that decision makes it easy. Then the more people that make that decision, the harder it is not to make that decision. So my guess is the majority of the financial system will build on Ethereum, much like we're seeing the majority of art on Ethereum, because it just happened to be where people started doing it, putting art. And then we've proven that Ethereum is so secure for smart contracts, the most securest platform for smart contracts, that we can only entrust our highest value smart contracts on Ethereum. Some of that will change over time and different blockchains have their use. But so the memetic, the story we tell ourselves for Ethereum is now the financial system is moving to Ethereum. So we're creating a whole new layer that people don't see yet because they think it's all a bunch of nonsense. But really, it's just the future of the internet where money is embedded within it and value. So we talked about how you and I could get paid to catch our attention. This comes all on these rails. So if we're transitioning into this new system and we can all buy a bit of it, we can all make quite a lot of money. So you get a choice. Do you buy the S&P 500, which is what you're told to buy, or you buy crypto, which grows at a lot? So then you start to realize once you do this for a period of time, you end up thinking, oh, fuck, I don't put enough into this. This is my answer. And the more people use it, the more the value goes up, the more it unfucks everybody's future because it's a different system than that fiat system that we talked about before that keeps getting debased. Right now, crypto is a $4 trillion asset class across all of the different tokens and protocols. A lot of this is just technology. So if you think about the internet when it rose, we couldn't invest in it. Eventually we could buy some shares in Google and stuff, but it wasn't the internet itself, right? It's businesses built on top of the internet. Here we can actually own the internet itself and everybody can. So it's like a public service good that we can all buy some of. Okay. That's amazing. It's currently worth $4 trillion today in its current form. If we just follow the trend rate of growth, I think by about 2034, it's $100 trillion. So at only 4% of the journey, And this is why you can unfuck your future. If you're only 4% of the journey, you can make a lot of money. And you finally get to participate in this global internet infrastructure layer and a new system of money, and you sidestep all of the debasement of currency, and you're leaning into the future of AI because the AI are going to pay themselves using cryptocurrency, and you avoid all of the other issues we've talked about. So it becomes blindingly obvious that this is the answer.
라울팔은 이 시장의 모든 단계는 이전 단계를 딛고 진화해왔다고 강조합니다. 2013년은 개인 투자자들의 투기, 2017년은 글로벌 거래소의 등장, 2021년은 기관 자금과 스테이블코인의 확산 시기였다면 2025년 이후는 토큰화된 금융과 AI 통합의 시대가 될 것이라고 그는 말합니다. 이건 단순히 가격이 오르는 문제가 아닙니다. 기존 금융 시스템 옆에서 완전히 새로운 글로벌 금융 레이어가 구축되고 있는 과정이기 때문입니다. 그리고 이번에는 그 문이 모든 사람에게 열려 있습니다. 20세기가 신용과 인구로 움직였다면 21세기는 유동성과 기술이 이끌 것입니다. 정부는 부채 함정에서 벗어날 수 없고 중앙은행은 성장 둔화 때마다 돈을 찍어낼 수밖에 없습니다. 그 유동성은 결국 가장 효율적으로 활용할 수 있는 자산, 즉 암호화폐, 인공지능, 그리고 토큰화 시스템으로 흘러갑니다. 기존의 시스템의 약속, 서류, 중앙 통제로 운영됐다면 새로운 시스템은 코드, 네트워크, 전 세계적 참여로 움직입니다. 라울팔은 이 전환이 현대 역사상 가장 큰 부의 이동의 시작이라고 말합니다. 가치를 잃는 돈을 쥔 사람들로부터 미래의 자산을 가진 사람들로 부가 이동하는 시대. 그것이 지금 우리가 서 있는 자리라고 그는 강조합니다.